Hello, my name is Trevor Pledger, and for my History 1302 Lest We Forget biographical research presentation, I'll be doing Dwight D. Eisenhower. The reason why I chose Dwight D. Eisenhower is because in World War II, he was a five-star Army general and served as the supreme commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force in Europe. He was responsible for the planning and invasion of North Africa and Operation Torch in 1942 and 1943, as well as the successful invasion of Normandy in 1944 and 45. He also served as the 34th President of the United States from 1953 to 1961. I got my information from a biographical novel titled Dwight Eisenhower, written by Kenneth S. Davis and published by New Word City, Inc., 2016. I believe Mr. Eisenhower should be remembered not only because of his major war contributions in both world wars, but also for his government programs and policies that he established and which have continued to help shape America into what we know today. Mr. Eisenhower was born on October 14, 1890 in Denison, Texas, and died on March 28, 1969. When he was only 2 years old, his family moved to Abilene, Kansas, in which years later he ended up attending West Point and graduated in 1915. In 1916, he married his wife, Mamie Genevieve Dowd. After World War I, Eisenhower was stationed in the Panama Canal Zone and was the assistant executive in 1929 and 23 in the office of the Assistant Secretary of War. From 1935 to 1940, he was in the Philippines, where he served as an aide to General Douglas MacArthur. Eisenhower's impressive performance did not go unnoticed as it led to his assignment in Washington, D.C. as the Chief of Operations in 1942. This kicked off his rise to the top of the Allied military commander of World War II. In December of 1942, he was called to England to be the Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force. Eisenhower was largely responsible for the cooperation between the British, American, and other Allied forces. He was also responsible for the integration of land, sea, and air force combat in World War II. He resigned in February of 1948 as Chief of Staff to become President of Columbia University. Later on in 1952, a draft Eisenhower movement in the Republican Party forced him to declare his candidacy in the 1952 presidential election to counter the candidacy of the non-interventionist Senator Robert A. Taft. After his victory, Eisenhower soon fulfilled his campaign pledge when an armistice was signed in July of 1953 in Korea after he threatened to use nuclear weapons against them. On the home front, Eisenhower set a domestic agenda that balanced the traditional Republican policy of limited government with his own belief that the government should help the people in need. This newfound style of his was called modern republicanism. Unlike previous presidents, Eisenhower kept the New Deal programs in place. The New Deal programs had been set up by Democratic President Franklin Delano Roosevelt in the 1930s. Eisenhower also established the Department of Health and Education Welfare, as well as the department that included Public Health Service, the Office of Education and the Drug and Food Administration, as well as Social Security Administration. The Social Security Administration was then expanded to be able to receive credit to the disabled, retired, and self-employed citizens. During his second term, desegregation became one of the primary issues on the national agenda. Although personally he was unenthusiastic about desegregation, he did send federal troops to Little Rock, Arkansas to enforce a court-ordered school desegregation decision in September of 1957. His administration supported the civil rights legislation that passed Congress in 1957 and 1960, and he prohibited the discriminatory practices in the District of Columbia and in the federal facilities such as Navy yards and hospitals. Although international tensions increased during his second term, I still believe that Dwight D. Eisenhower should be remembered because he had way more war contributions and political and policies and agendas that we have followed that have greatly benefited America, and we should always remember him as being a great general and president. Thank you.